Have you ever just stopped and watched a hummingbird hover or a cheetah hit top speed or a fish just dart through the water and thought, wait, how? How in the world do they do that? From the tiniest little insect to the biggest whale in the ocean, the animal kingdom is just a masterclass in movement. So yeah, let's dive into this. We're going to explore the incredible physics and biology behind how animals completely conquer their world. And that's the thing, right? That variety is what's fascinated us for, well, forever. Animals walk, they run, they creep, and hop. They fly, glide, paddle, and swim. And this isn't just a random list of actions. It's a showcase of millions of years of evolutionary engineering, all of it perfectly tweaked to find food, escape danger, and just survive. You know, our curiosity about how animals move is definitely not a new thing. In fact, it's a question that scientists, artists, and deep thinkers have been wrestling with for millennia, with each generation building on the work of the last to get us where we are today. Just look at this timeline. You can really see how our understanding has evolved. I mean, we start with Aristotle's philosophical ideas way back in 350 BC. Then we take a huge leap forward to 1680. A guy named Giovanni Borelli basically starts treating the body like a machine that has to follow the laws of physics. But the real game changer, that came in 1887 with E. Edward Muybridge. His incredible photographs of a galloping horse proved for the very first time that all four hooves leave the ground at the same time. The human eye just isn't fast enough to catch that. And that brings us to today, where we're in this absolute golden age of discovery, using GPS, robotics, and super high-speed cameras to decode movement in ways they could only have dreamed of. So, what are the fundamental principles we're talking about here? It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Whether you're looking at a cockroach scurrying across the floor or an antelope leaping across the plains, they're all pulling from the same basic biological toolkit to get moving. So let's open up that kit and see what's inside. Right at the heart of all this is a field called biomechanics. This is pretty much the physics of life. It's all about understanding how forces and levers and energy all work together inside a living thing. Every single jump, every flap of a wing, every stride, it's all a biomechanical event. Okay, so for a muscle to work, it needs something to pull against. And nature has come up with three really brilliant ways to solve this. You and I, we have an endoskeleton. That's our internal frame. Then you've got insects and crabs who wear their skeletons on the outside, which we call an exoskeleton. And then there's a whole other group like earthworms and jellyfish that use a hydrostatic skeleton. It's basically a sack of fluid they squeeze and reshape to move. So you've got three totally different designs all solving the same basic problem. Now, here's where it gets really cool, and it's all about efficiency. Running and hopping takes a ton of energy, but a lot of animals have a secret weapon, their tendons. Think about a kangaroo when it lands. Its Achilles tendon stretches and stores up all that elastic energy, kind of like squishing the spring on a pogo stick. And get this, that tendon can return up to 95% of that energy on the very next jump. That's a free boost. It's literally like having rechargeable batteries in your legs. It's why their movement is so incredibly economical. So with this basic toolkit of skeletons, muscles, and those amazing tendons, animals have adapted to move through pretty much every environment you can imagine on this planet. And of course, each environment comes with its own unique set of physical challenges. So on land, the name of the game is fighting gravity. I mean, it's a constant battle. Every single step an animal takes is a fight against being pulled straight down. That means you need a really strong skeleton and some seriously powerful muscles just to support your own body weight and push yourself forward. And to deal with that challenge, land animals have this incredible variety of gaits. You've got the slow, steady walk of a tortoise, which is all about stability. Then you have the absolute opposite, the explosive, bounding gallop of a cheetah, which is built for nothing but pure speed. And of course, that super efficient, spring-loaded hop of a kangaroo. Each and every gait is a unique strategy for moving effectively against that constant pull of gravity. All right, now let's go up into the air. Here, the problem is totally different. It's not just about fighting gravity anymore. It's about generating enough upward force, what we call lift, to beat gravity completely and actually stay airborne. And the solutions here are just as diverse. You've got the raw power of flapping flight, you've got the beautiful efficiency of gliding, and then there's the really clever strategy of soaring. That's where birds like eagles use rising columns of warm air, called thermals, to just circle their way up higher and higher without even flapping. And of course, you have the ridiculous challenge of hovering, which has been totally mastered by hummingbirds and insects. And finally, let's dive into the water. In this world, gravity isn't as big of a deal because of buoyancy. The real enemy here is drag. You know, the resistance of the water itself. Moving through water is way harder than moving through air. It's like trying to run through molasses. So how do you beat the drag? Well, there are a few amazing strategies. Lots of fish and eels undulate their bodies, making that classic wave-like motion. Squid use jet propulsion, blasting water out to shoot themselves forward. But my favorite might be what we see with penguins and whales. They use what's called lift-based flying. They literally use their flippers and flukes like underwater wings. It's just a brilliant example of what we call convergent evolution, where completely different species figure out the same solution to the same problem all on their own. Okay, so we've seen the what and the why. But how do scientists actually measure and analyze all of this incredible movement? How do you turn a galloping horse into, actual hard data? Well, it's a really fascinating multi-step process. First, you have to get the animal moving in a controlled way, so maybe a treadmill for a dog or a wind tunnel for a bird. Then you use motion capture, just like they do for movies, with these little reflective markers on their joints. At the same time, force plates built into the treadmill are measuring the power of every single step. And finally, you can use tiny electrodes to record the electrical signals from the muscles, which tells you exactly which muscles are firing and when. It's how we completely deconstruct movement into all its tiny pieces. And it's not just about watching the whole animal move. Scientists go even deeper, analyzing the materials themselves. A machine like this one can actually test the properties of an individual muscle or a tendon. It can measure exactly how much force it can handle and how much energy it can store. This is how we know for sure just how springy those rechargeable battery tendons we talked about earlier really are. Okay, so all this research is just amazing. But why does it matter? Beyond just being cool. Well, it turns out that understanding how animals move is directly inspiring the technology of tomorrow, and it's also helping us protect the natural world today. Take a look at robotics. Animals have these special neural circuits called CPGs that handle rhythmic stuff like walking automatically without you even having to think about it. Engineers are now building that exact same idea into robots, which lets them walk with way more stability and much less complex computer processing. It's the same with something called passive dynamics. We're studying how animals use their own momentum to move efficiently, and we're building that into robots so they use less power. We are literally borrowing nature's blueprints. And the impact goes way beyond just robots. By tracking how animals move, we can identify critical migration routes that we need to protect for conservation. Understanding biomechanics leads to better prosthetic limbs and more effective physical therapy techniques. And the principles of how fish swim and how birds fly are inspiring way more efficient designs for drones and underwater vehicles. So from Aristotle's very first questions all the way to the bio-inspired robots of today, our fascination with animal movement just keeps driving new discoveries. When you think about it, nature is the ultimate engineer, with millions of years of research and development under its belt. It really just leaves you wondering, what secrets is it going to reveal to us next?